Saziozi has just responded to some of the allegations you raised, and he says, look, we put in place checks and balances to ensure that things go well, and we also have some other three perspectives which they put in. He said, look, by the way, these yardsticks were not set by INEC. They did a lot of consultations before they came up with these ones.
Now we are down to the practical side of what is going on. You know, those consultations, tests that we have done for certain stakeholders and so on, INEC should also know that will not represent the elections. I'm looking at what will happen right there on the field. You know, this is like a controlled experiment. You can decide how you go about it. Right there on the field with the people there, people line up, number of people you're turning down. And there's been the issue consistently, the issue of stolen PVCs. Why are people stealing PVCs? Because if you have a window of incident, the incident could be maybe your fingerprints couldn't read. The card goes in, and it shows it's a genuine INEC card. But suppose a stolen card, maybe polling booth 004, the cards there were stolen. And some people now turned up, not those registered voters, with those cards.
You mean they will turn up with a stolen card with another passport on the stolen card?
No, the pictures could be there. The pictures could be there. What the card reader is doing is to read the card. Human beings are manning these polling booths. You can look at your face and it does not matter. The card reader reads the cards. And it's a genuine INEC card that's stolen and turns up at the proper center where the voting should take place. What happens?
What about the second stage where you have to biometrically authenticate the person who presents a PVC?
It might not work. The biometrics might not work, but the card shows that it's a genuine card. So what happens?
Let's find out from Saziozi. Well, tell us, in that circumstance, if that ever presents itself, what's the way out?
The way out is this. First of all, let us get the architecture right. The first thing a person does, a voter does when he enters a polling unit, somebody is there to check his card to find out whether it's a card for that unit, whether it matches the face of that person. He must pass that test first before the card is even sent to the card reader, second person holding the card reader, to ascertain whether it's if for any reason a stolen card, then first of all we'll see that the face doesn't match the bearer of this card. But even if he passes that threshold and gets to the next threshold, then the card reader will be read, and then the biometrics will now be taken. And obviously, it will show that the person who has put that card, his biometrics or our biometrics, do not match what we have saved in the memory of the card reader. So that person will not be allowed now to proceed. But if it's genuine that it's the person's card, then that is when the official will now, having been satisfied, fill the incident form. But don't forget that information the data has been transferred to a central server.
Okay, another matter which is raised in some other quarters is INEC is to ensure from all of this essence of card readers and PVCs that those who get accredited, the same number of those who get accredited are the ones who vote.
Yes.
Now, if it happens that, well, yes, a certain number gets accredited, but you have more people or more ballots in the ballot boxes because you're going to thumbprint the ballot paper and drop in the ballot box. If that happens, if you have more ballot papers in the box than those who were accredited, what happens?
Well, obviously the election has to be nullified in that particular polling unit because you cannot have more ballot papers than you have accredited voters. You can have less, but you cannot have more. All accredited voters, once they pass the test of accreditation, will now be issued one ballot paper each for each election. So if you're issued 100 ballot papers because there are 100 people accredited, you cannot have 105 ballot papers inside the box. You cannot. Okay, so that's the whole essence.
What happens, because, correct me if I'm wrong, I heard the chairman of the commission while he was addressing the Senate say those cards, the PVCs, are not tenable in court. So if anyone were to go to court based on that to show that this was rigged, if they were to rely on those PVCs, that wouldn't work, would it?
Look, I believe, if I remember correctly, I was saying that day, and what he said is that the card readers, not the PVCs, you can always take a PVC to court, you can take anything to court. Now the information, what the courts will be interested in is the information contained in that card reader data. To impugn on the manual checks that you have done, because as I said, also there will be manual accreditation hand in hand with the technological enhanced accreditation, because that is a framework provided by the law.
Okay, we'll come back to that in just a moment. Apologies for some of those freezing pictures experienced via Skype. Well, let's take a moment now and go for a roundup. You could call it campaign roundup. Innie Thompson's here to bring us what else is going on. Hello, Innie.
Well, hello, Chamberlain. A lot is going on. For example, in Edo State, the entertainers have taken to the streets. They are not campaigning for any political party or any candidate. They are just asking that the coming election be free, fair, and non-violent. That's in Edo State. Also, good news in Ogun State. Some of the expected PVCs have arrived, and it's now time to distribute them. Entertainers in Edo State campaigned for democracy through their arts. Their message is to INEC and the state governor, Adams Oshomole, who represents politicians in the state. His reply to them is to reaffirm the position of his party, the APC, on the use of card readers.
You must insist that the card reader must be used. It was used in Ghana. It was used in many other countries. It must also be used in Nigeria.
17 political parties in Kogi State have made commitments to conduct their activities and their supporters in a peaceful manner as they prepare for the general elections and afterwards. It is the initiative of the state chapter of the Inter-Party Accord Committee, IPAC, in collaboration with the police command, but it's widely accepted. The forum is a good place for the police to read out the Riot Act guiding the forthcoming elections.
We will make sure it is very difficult for you to carry out those heinous activities that you planned or that you intend to sponsor. Both the thugs and the sponsors will be brought to justice.
In the southwest Ogun State, over 192,000 permanent voter cards belonging to the residents have just been delivered. This is part of the outstanding PVCs for the state. The cards will be distributed to the polling units spread across the 20 local government areas.
As we speak now, they have called us from Abuja to come and carry the remaining consignment, and have dispatched our drivers to Abuja. Hopefully by today, tomorrow, the consignment will come, and by Friday, Ogun State must have received all their remaining cards for distribution.
It's now left for the residents to visit the units and collect their cards ahead of the deadline of March 22, 6 days before the first election. So there you have it. It's one thing for INEC to have the PVCs, and it's another thing for residents to go and collect it. And that's what we're hoping will happen as the days come closer. Back to you, Chamberlain.
Well, thank you, Innie. As a matter of fact, I've got some other persons who are speaking up about those who have failed to go and collect their cards. They ask on Twitter, where do we place those categories of people? And then they also say, Rotimi, for instance, says, look, you have party agents who will be present at those polling units to also ensure that things are not done in the wrong manners, to ensure that, well, yes, if we're using the PVCs, you won't have more numbers in the ballot box, which is different from those who were accredited.
Okay, so many, we are at the point of apportioning blames now, and I still make that point almost a month after this election should have held. We are talking of PVCs arriving in Abuja, being delivered somewhere, and then being distributed. The first problem also started from INEC that said people had to collect these things from local government places. There are various local government headquarters. And I think when I was here earlier, I made that point. Some local government headquarters are more than 100 kilometers from where people live. Some state governments declared holidays. On those days, you go out, INEC officials wouldn't have come. And now, for these PVCs to be ready by now, or leaving Abuja by now, it could explain why people couldn't collect those things when they went to those places. So it's not time to be blaming the people. And now, if you even go to the local governments, those who went, an INEC office in a local government is just a very tiny place, really, There were no proper places to collect those things. And then the PVCs were not there. So these are the things I expect INEC to admit that it failed in that area. It's just going on as if We're talking of an election that is still to hold